You wake up before sunrise, and today you're a samurai. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Samurai was never one life. It was at least four completely different ones, stacked on top of each other like a ladder, and which rung you landed on decided almost everything. What you ate, what you wore, whether you'd ever speak to a lord in your life, and how you were legally allowed to die. We're going to live through all four. Same morning, four completely different mornings. The first one is the bottom of the ladder. The second is the middle. The third is close enough to real power to feel it. And the fourth is the top, which, as you're about to find out, is not the same thing as freedom. Rank 1. You're an ashigaru, literally light feet. You're not from a warrior family. You're a farmer who got handed a spear. Your morning starts in a crowded barracks, shoulder to shoulder with men who, 6 months ago, were also just farming. Historian Stephen Turnbull, who spent decades studying exactly this rank, describes the ashigaru as the disposable backbone of every Sengoku-era army, cheap to arm, cheap to replace, and treated that way. You don't own your spear. You don't own your armor. Both get handed back at the end of the campaign, along with whatever's left of your pay, a fraction of a real samurai stipend, sometimes paid late, sometimes barely paid at all if your side loses. Here's the part that actually lands hardest. You can fight in 3 major battles and still, legally, never be called a real samurai. Rank isn't about how brave you were yesterday, it's about who your father was. Rank 2, and here's where it gets interesting. You're a proper retainer now, a real samurai, sworn to a specific lord, paid a fixed stipend in koku, a unit of rice literally standing in for your entire social value. More koku, more status. It's that direct. Your day is nowhere near as violent as you'd think. Guard rotations, paperwork, drills that never turn into actual combat because for most of your career there simply isn't a war on. You live in the castle town, in a house sized exactly to your rank, not a foot bigger because that's illegal. But you carry something the ashigaru never gets, kirisuta gomen, the legal right to cut down a commoner on the spot, no trial if they seriously disrespect you. It sounds like ultimate power. It isn't. If you kill someone and can't prove it was justified afterward, you're the one who gets punished, sometimes with your own life. The privilege that looks like a blank check is actually a loaded gun pointed both directions. So how did anyone actually survive a full career at this rank without ever pulling that sword in anger? Mostly by understanding that the sword was never really about violence. It was about being seen to have the option. Rank 3. You've climbed past ordinary retainer into Hatamoto, a direct vassal of the Shogun himself, not just some regional lord. Fewer than 10,000 koku a year. But here's the detail that actually matters. You now have omi, the right to be formally received in the Shogun's presence. Most samurai who ever lived never got that in their entire lives. Your mornings are administrative now. You might oversee a district, manage a small garrison, sit through hours of protocol so exact that a single wrong gesture in the wrong room could end a career built over decades. And this is the rank where seppuku stops being a battlefield rumor and becomes a real standing obligation, not a wild act of desperation, a formalized, expected way to take responsibility for a serious failure, documented and understood by everyone around you before it ever happens. The 18th century text Hagakure, written by a retired samurai reflecting on exactly this code, puts it in 4 blunt words. The way of the samurai is found in death, not as a threat, as a job description. Rank 4, the top of the ladder. You're a daimyo now, a feudal lord with your own domain, more than 10,000 koku, hundreds or thousands of your own retainers answering to you. This is supposed to be the good ending. It isn't, not entirely. Here's the twist nobody expects. The more powerful you become, the less your own life belongs to you. Under a policy called Senkin Kotai, you're legally required to spend alternating periods living in Edo under the shogun's direct watch, then travel back to your own domain and travel again the next cycle. Every single trip means marching a massive procession of retainers, banners, and porters across the country at your own crushing expense. You maintain full households in 2 cities at once. You fund an army you're not allowed to actually use for conquest anymore, because the wars are over and the shogunate has no intention of letting you get rich enough to start a new one. You're the richest man in the room, and you are, in every practical sense, on a leash. Let's bridge that for a second. You know that feeling of your paycheck arriving and disappearing into rent before you've even touched it? That's a daimyo's entire life, just with rice, banners, and an emperor's court instead of a landlord. So here's the actual shape of the whole system. Rank 1, the ashigaru, has almost nothing, but also almost nothing tying him down. No household in 2 cities, no protocol that can end him for one wrong gesture. Rank 4, the daimyo, has everything and is arguably the least free man in the entire hierarchy. The ladder doesn't lead from powerless to free. It leads from powerless to responsible for everyone beneath you permanently, with no version of retiring early. That's probably the real reason the samurai class didn't collapse from a single battle. It slowly ran out of room to breathe, one rank at a time, long before anyone outside Japan ever heard the word. If you want more of what history actually felt like from the inside, not just the highlight reel, the rest is on the channel.